What's up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Catalyst and welcome to the second part of the Prince of Persia Sands of Time any percent tutorial done by Toka21 and me. If you haven't checked the first part, I highly advise you to do so. Toka goes over all the basics that you need to set up before getting into an actual run, so definitely check that out. Now, the outline for this part is going to be fairly simple. The first bit, I'm going to cover some default basic movement tech, and then we're going to go over the start of the route before you actually get the Dagger of Time. This tutorial is going to be expecting you to have played through the game already, so you have like the basic hang of the controls and the way you actually move around. And first thing that we're going to talk about is the concept of rolling versus running. I'm going to put it very simply. Running has an acceleration before you get to the max speed. Then when you reach top speed, it's quite fast. If you roll like this, and you cancel rolls, so you like press roll and the first roll's about to end, you see there's no acceleration at all. The thing is, top speed of this technique is not as fast as running. What does that mean for you? On the shorter distances, you want to keep on rolling, so if there's a distance and you need to do like 5 to 6 rolls, just do rolls. If there's a longer distance that you need to cover, you should actually keep on running. Now, another very important thing that I need to cover is moving uphill and downhill in general. You can see if I run up these stairs, it's fairly slow, right? So, a better way to get up these stairs is to actually roll. Now, on the contrary, if you run down stairs, you get to a very fast speed immediately while running. So you do not want to roll downstairs. And once you leave the stairs after running downstairs, your movement speed is to the max, so you just want to keep on running. You don't want to start rolling or anything, because you're just going to lose your speed. Another interesting thing is that wall running is actually the fastest way to move. It's just not as practical throughout the run and not used that much. One last thing that's not as much movement related, more like platforming related, is the fact that if you wall climb like that, you can get higher if you wall climb further away from the wall. Okay, that's all for the movement tech that's actually used throughout the run. Let's now get to the route. So the first thing to point out is that the timing doesn't actually start when you hit the start new game button, but it starts when you gain control of Prince. The best way to actually start the timer is to put it at -9 seconds and press it as you are starting the new game. After watching these cutscenes, if you're playing on controller, all you gotta do is just hold upwards and you're gonna run in those doors. If you're actually playing on keyboard, you have to time your W press. You cannot just keep on holding it. That doesn't work. Running there, rolling there, and keep on mashing spacebar to skip this cutscene. Now, me personally, I run on keyboard and mouse, but I also have a controller on the side that I use for certain parts of the game. I'm gonna tell you where the controller is actually a little bit better, and I'm gonna also outline the reasons why. Right after this cutscene, you wanna turn to the right, climb up here. We're gonna use a trick to get up there. There are two ways of doing it. The first one that I advise you to do, which is a lot easier and 100% consistent, is you wanna run along this wall, like that. And remember what I told you about wall climbing higher. You want to wall climb on this wall while standing a little bit away from it. Just hold the wall run. What happens is, Prince, after flipping, he actually grabs this ledge and you get up there. Now, the other method that I don't really advise you to do, it is possible, is cancelling the wall climb at the last few frames. And that way, Prince actually grabs the ledge because he gets higher on the wall climb. Look like this. Usually, if you just try to wall run here, it won't work. Now you're hanging on this edge, what you want to do is you want to climb up, go to the right, climb up, roll, climb up again. Now this climb up can be a little bit finicky, sometimes he climbs up faster, sometimes he doesn't. But this is overall the fastest way to get up these platforms, then roll again, and get up here. Now, you gotta do 4 rolls again. Now, if these rolls are a little bit harder for you to do at first, don't worry, you can just do running. It's not that slower. Optimally, you want to do these rolls. 2 more rolls, and then a few more rolls again. Now, through this part, the intended way is to get out your sword and destroy the furniture like this. What's actually faster though is while running on this side of the door. So you do that, you destroy the furniture, and then there's a cutscene running in front of you. What you want to do is you want to roll into it. What that allows you to do, right after the cutscene ends, you can actually wall run on this wall and grab the ladder from the wall. So you roll into it, and when this cutscene ends, you just hold W and D and wall run. Now what can sometimes happen is that you roll into this cutscene and you accidentally hit this wall, like that. What then happens is the camera is flipped, and instead you want to hold S and A to wall run like this. And you get up the ladder. You want to keep on rolling through this area, simply because there's war in here. And in the war you walk very, very slowly. So you want to roll through that, and then do the same furniture trick again and roll into the cutscene. General rule of thumb that I actually forgot to mention is that if you're jumping from like a higher platform, you want to hold the direction key in the direction Prince is facing. Because sometimes, normally, if you take fall damage from that amount of height, Prince will actually do an automatic roll. He will avoid fall damage, and he's actually going to avoid the slowdown as well. Okay, so I want to be doing that here. Sometimes I'm going to roll, sometimes not. So I want to roll here 3 times, and then holding A. Didn't get the roll this time. Now you can see that the enemies are dead now. I killed them just for the purpose of this tutorial. Now you see the cannonball in front of me, right? What you want to do is you want to run on top of it, then run down from it. What happens is the game thinks you're running downhill, so it gives you maximum running speed already. So just do that, like that. Very simply run through this corridor. Now here you just want to do 3 simple wall runs over these gaps. It's nothing to talk about really. The one thing that I could mention, which you could try, is you can cancel this wall run a little bit earlier. So what happens is you like land on the edge here, but without this animation, otherwise it doesn't save time. And if you actually get in a wall run on top of this ladder from further away like this, you get like a little bit of a faster climb up animation on this ladder. And that saves like, I don't know, less than half a second, but it's a cool thing you can try to go for. So here you just want to roll. Before you get into this cutscene, I want to say that this is where I actually switched to controller, because there's like a white flash after the cutscene. The problem with keyboard is that you have to actually time your W input to go as fast as possible. Controller can just keep on holding upwards. So we roll into this cutscene or run into it, doesn't really matter. Generally, you want to roll into cutscenes to gain some extra distance, but this one actually resets your position. So now I actually switch to controller and I just hold upwards. And Prince starts moving a little bit earlier than he normally would. Now what you want to do is run into this corner at sort of like this angle, like 45 degrees, maybe less. Okay, and as you run into that corner, you want to press jump. And you get zipped like this. Just a cute little time saver, really. With this drop down, you want to make sure that Prince's animation is fully done. Because if you don't, what happens is something like this. And you don't want that, that's slower. You really just want to make sure that the animation is actually fully finished. So you then drop down like that. Now here you want to do 4 and a little bit of climbs. So you go like 1, 2, 3, 4, and a bit, and then you drop down. Now the fastest way to get through this area is to wall run on this wall. And then at a certain point you want to jump out of the wall. What happens is the auto-aim system of this game targets that pillar, and Prince actually grabs that higher platform. It looks like this. Now if you do this for the first time, as with other actions throughout this game, when you do them for the first time, you get like a pretty damn big slow motion. Now, how to prevent this from happening is, when you jump off the wall, what you want to do is you want to tap Landscape U twice. Now, by default, on the keyboard, that's the Q key. On controller, it's actually L2. And as you jump off, you double tap that, and that cancels the slow-mo that would normally happen. like that. Then you want to roll into here and you get a prompt to save. You just mash enter for the game to save. It's the fastest way to get through that. Now, through this area, just while wall run to jump, roll, double roll here. And here, instead of actually jumping off from the wall, you want to drop down here and then go into a wall climb into a turn jump. Get up here and roll into the cutscene. Now there are two little shortcuts in this area. Right after the cutscene, you want to wall run over here. And now you can do the easy method and the intended method. And that's wall running over here and jumping. Now that's quite slow. You don't really want to do that, right? So what you can do is you can angle yourself at this corner. And you can jump to that corner. You can do the same thing over here. It's not that precise to get properly. You absolutely want to do this jump because normally you would have to get up here, do a very slow wall run over here. And this loses a lot of time. You don't want to do this. Now, if you position yourself correctly and jump late enough, you can get a so-called perfect jump. Now, what that is nothing else but just skipping the climb up animation on the edge of that platform. And it saves like 0.5 seconds. Make sure to not set this up for too long, otherwise it's not actually going to be saving time. And we're rolling to this. Now, if you're on controller, what you want to do, you want to hold forward and mash jump. If you're on keyboards, you want to time your W press after this cutscene and then jump forwards. Get around these spikes. And now coming up is the dagger jump. It's probably the hardest trick in the entire early game. There's another video by Razor that's dedicated just to this trick, so I'm gonna link this in a description. And that has like a detailed explanation on how to actually do this and how to set this up. All I can say is that you do not wanna do this on keyboard too much. Like, it's a lot easier on controller because on controller obviously you can move the prints very slightly in these kinds of directions. But on keyboard you have just like 4 general directions. It's not as easy to manipulate prints around. And the trick itself actually looks like this. So now what's happening is that we actually got to an area to which we're supposed to be coming from later on. We skipped a large platforming section and saved like 2 minutes. So the game's gonna be behaving a little bit weirdly because it doesn't really know what to do. We're not hitting the triggers as we are supposed to be hitting. So what happens is this ground actually falls down. So we wanna, at first I advise you to actually take this jump slowly. You wanna like aim yourself up. You can make it over. Because if you miss it and die, the checkpoint is at the previous cutscene. If you're fast, you can just go ahead and like whiff the jump like that. Then you grab this, okay? You wanna wall run over here because this ground falls down as well. And then you wanna run to this kind of a general area. So what happens here is you can see the dagger of time over there, and we obviously wanna pick it up, but we don't wanna go through the cutscene of picking it up. If you get over here, you hit a certain trigger, and now if you're gonna just progress normally, the game actually thinks you have already picked up the dagger because you're coming from this direction. And once you hit the next cutscene, what happens is the game just gives you the dagger. The only problem is that the game doesn't give you any sense. That's because the send cloud number by default is 0, and picking up the dagger with the cutscene sets it to 3. That's the only difference. So you wanna dodge these freaking poles. Now here's a little tricky wall run that you can actually go for. It's not too precise, but it doesn't save that much time either. You just want to like ride around this corner and then get into a wall run. It looks like this. And then you roll and wall climb up here. And then you double roll into this cutscene while mashing spacebar to skip it. This cutscene is going to mark the end of this part. Simply because this is the end of the early game, you finally obtain Dagger of Time. You're going to be finally able to obtain Sands and use the zipping technique, which is what the next part of this tutorial series is going to be focused on. We're going to be talking about zipping, we're going to be talking about how it works, and I'm going to give you all the tips and tricks that I have in my playbook. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask in the comment section down below, or you can contact Toka or me on Discord, and I'll see you at the next part.